So what are the different types of virtualization? We think of that we have only the hardware virtualization, but it's not correct. We have many virtualizations that is possible, and it is not like all the virtualization will use in the cloud. We'll use some of the virtualization in the cloud. Like first one is the application virtualization, then we have network virtualization, desktop virtualization, storage virtualization, server virtualization, and data virtualization. Let's see one by one all those virtualization. So the first one is the application virtualization. Now, what is application virtualization? This application virtualization will help us for enabling the software as a service. Now, here what will happen is in the application virtualization will help a user to have remote access of an application from a server. The server stores all personal information and other characteristics of application, but can still run on a local workstation through the internet. Now, example of this would be a user who need to run two different versions of the same software. So for that application virtualization will be useful. Technologies that use application virtualization are hosted applications and packaged applications. Now here, these virtualization means, so we have one version of the software and we want to have another version of the software that we want to run of the same software, then this virtualization, application virtualization will help us to do that. It is just like we are using different applications like um, in the cloud. Let's say we are using Office 365, and that is provided by your Google, right? And that is an example of application virtualization. So that particular Office 365 we do not install. It is not used anywhere installed. We can use it with the help of that Google Suite. So we'll go there and we can use that particular applications. Next is the network virtualization. Now, what happened in the network virtualization? It is just like, let's say you are using internet facility, or you are using the internet from different internet service providers. So let's say you are using Geo network or Airtel network, and you have taken a broadband connection. Now, there is, let's say you have used the Airtel broadband connection. Now, you have taken a different plan. The plan is, let's say I want unlimited data with, let's say, 30 Mbps of speed. This is my plan. And for that, I have paid. Now, if you'll see, other person has taken another plan. Maybe they require more resources, maybe they require less. So they have taken another plan. Now, how one network will be divided into different virtual network. So that is done by the network virtualization. So we have the separate plan as well as control to the data plans. It will also happen with your mobile phone also. In the mobile phone also, we have the internet packages or internet data packages. Now, how one user will be different to another user? So that is also based on this network virtualization. So network also could be virtualized. It coexists together on top of one physical network. It can be managed by individual parties that potentially confidential to each other. Network virtualization provide the facility to create and provision virtual network, logical switches, router, firewall, load balancer, virtual private network, and workload security within days or even in weeks. Now here in the institute also, we are using this network virtualization so that we are getting one input of internet connection, and that will be divided into different zones. So we have around to 7 zones in which the internet facility has been divided, and that will be done using virtual private network. That is the example of virtual network. Next one is your desktop virtualization. Now, what is the desktop virtualization? Now we know that what we are using in the desktop, and we'll do the virtualization on it. So the desktop virtualization allow the user's operating system to be remotely stored on a server in the data center. It allows the user to access their desktop virtually from any location by the different machines. So it is just like your infrastructure as a service, in which you have given the desktop access. You have been created a virtual machine and you have given the desktop access to it. So you can use those uh, desktop, means you can use your machine from anywhere. User who want a specific operating system other than Windows Server will need to have a virtual desktop. So if we'll take an example of a laptop or of a desktop, what we are using. So we are using the separate virtualization softwares. So here I'm using Parallel, which is a virtualization software. In Windows, you use other virtualization software to install two or three different operating systems. Main benefit of desktop virtualization are user mobility, portability, ease management of software installation, and update and patches. So these are the different benefit of desktop virtualization. Next is the storage virtualization. Now the storage virtualization is nothing but is an array of servers that are managed by virtual storage system. Now here what will happen is we have the storage, and that storage has been virtualized. It is just like your box, Dropbox, or let's say the Google Drive, where the servers are not aware of exactly where their data is stored and instead function more like workers bee in a hive. So like workers bee are working in a hive, they don't know where they're putting the, or where they are creating the honey in the comb. Just like where we are storing the data, we don't know about it. But yes, one logical storage has been given to us where we are storing our data. It makes managing storage from multiple resources to be managed and utilized as a single repository. Storage virtualization software maintains smooth operations, consistent performance, and a continuous suite of advanced function despite changes. It will break down and differentiate, differentiate differences in the underlying equipments. Now, the storage virtualization software are there, which are doing all those things related to the storage, logical division of the storage. Now, the next one in the virtualization is the server virtualization. So it is a kind of virtualization in which masking of server resources take place. Now, what is the meaning of server resources? So we have the central server, which is a physical server. It's divided into multiple different virtual servers by changing the identity number processes. So each system can operate its own operating system in isolation manner. Now, this is an example of your what we say is a physical virtualization, where each subserver knows the identity of the central server. It causes an increase in the performance and reduce the operating cost by development of main server resources into a subserver resources. Its benefit in virtual migration, reduce energy consumption, and reduce infrastructure cost, etc. are the example of server virtualization, which is your hardware virtualization. Now, the last virtualization is your data virtualization. Now, what is a data virtualization? Data virtualization is the process of retrieve data from various resources without knowing its type and physical location where it is stored. Now, data virtualization is talking about the collection of heterogeneous data, and these heterogeneous data we find from the different resources. It allow the user across organization to access their data according to their work requirement. This heterogeneous data can be accessed using the applications such as web portal, web servers, e-commerce, software as a service, and mobile applications. We can use data virtualization in the field of data integration, business intelligence, and cloud computing. Now, the data virtualization is useful in all these domain. Cloud computing is also a domain where we use data virtualization. Many big giant companies are providing their services like Oracle, IBM, at scale, Seagate, etc. are providing us the concept of data virtualization.